Welcome to the We Hack Purple podcast, where each week we meet a different person from the information security industry to learn about their jobs and their career and how they got to where they are today. I am Tanya Janca. I am your host, and I am from We Hack Purple. And this week we have Annie Hedgpeth. And she's going to tell us what it's like to be a test infrastructure engineer, which is super cool. I know that we've concentrated a lot on incident response and executives and startups and AppSec because obviously that's my favorite topic. So I'm excited to talk about infrastructure because that's actually an area where I'm super weak. This episode is sponsored by ThreatFix, which is powered by Denim Group. But I know what you're all thinking. Just bring out Annie. Okay. Hi, Annie. Welcome to the show. Oh, I think you're on mute. Oh, there you are. Okay. Oh, don't worry. Hi, welcome.
It's really great to be here, Tanya. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. I was pretty excited when you said yes, because someone highly recommended you, but also I'm like, ooh, I want to learn all the things. Whenever there's a technology I don't know about, I'm like, ooh, I'm going to find someone smart and then, see if I can invite them on my podcast.
That is a great way to do it. We'll see what we can do.
The strategy has been going really well. Would you mind introducing yourself and, telling us what your online handle is so if people want to follow you and maybe your job title?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Annie Hedgpeth. You can follow me at Annie Hedgie, so ANNIEHEDGIE. And my website is anniehedgie.com. And I blog about problems that I solve. And whenever I fix a problem, I usually blog about it because I get excited about it. My title is Test Infrastructure Engineer at HashiCorp for the Terraform Enterprise team.
That's so cool. I do not know Terraform very well. I actually am more familiar with Vault, which is like a different product that they do that happens to be super cool. Although I am well aware Terraform is also cool.
It is very cool. So the Terraform I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you go.
I was going to tell you, okay, so like Terraform Enterprise might not mean anything to some of your listeners. So I'll just explain that real fast if you want me to.
Yeah.
Okay, so Terraform is an infrastructure as code tool. So you want to provision your entire environment, so you write it out in code. That's what Terraform is. And Terraform Enterprise is a way for companies to manage all of that code. So you can store it all in one place. You can deploy it all from one place, and then all of the stuff that goes along with that is all in one server, and so or all in one environment rather. And so all of your state files, your variables, everything is all deployed from one single environment, and so it makes it easier to use this tool Terraform if you have Terraform Enterprise.
Cool. Okay, so I'm going to get totally off topic. Can we briefly discuss why infrastructure as code is ridiculously awesome?
I mean, I honestly think it has changed technology like fundamentally. We're able to do things so much faster now because somebody's not manually doing something. And if somebody goes in and manually changes something, the infrastructure as code is running all the time, so it fixes it. It's like, no, you didn't code that, so let's go and undo what this person did manually and make sure that it's all codified.
I think it's infrastructure as code's also super cool because you can check it into your code repository, which means versioning, which means history and auditing and logging.
So much safer.
Like someone logging in and being like, oh, I'm just going to undo this and check that. And back in the day, people used to use the same accounts. So be like, did Brad do that? Did Alice do that? Did Bob do that? I bet it was Tanya.
And you have no idea who the bad actors are. Somebody's disgruntled, whatever. Yeah, definitely. So if everything is versioned, everything's in code, then not only does it simplify things, because you can see what you're deploying, but also it makes things so much safer, especially if you're applying codified audits at the end of all of your provisioning and things, so that you can keep everything, so that you can keep all the teams happy. You can keep the devs happy because they know what to expect in their environment. You can get the infrastructure people happy because they can reproduce things super quickly and change things, with code. And then compliance and security people can codify all of their audits or their security constraints and whatnot. Yeah. And then also, like, everybody knows about those audits ahead of time. They're not like surprised in the end. So yeah, infrastructure as code is, I really think, like, we would not be where we are in technology today. We wouldn't have the advancements today without that. So it's part of it.
Yeah. And we can do security as code and like add all the policies in, like you said, but then we can also scan it to see if something's missing. Right. And then also, like, when you would put, a virtual machine in a CI/CD pipeline and you're like, okay, I'm going to go and scan it. It's like, okay, well, I'll go get a coffee and have lunch and do all these other things. But with infrastructure as code, you're like, boom.
Yeah.
And like 5 seconds later, it's like, did you know these things are wrong? And it's so much faster. And also, okay, so I love it. So I'm just really excited.
Yeah, I do too. Please.
But also then you can have perfect replicas, right? So imagine before, like, I don't know if you've had this, Annie, because I feel like potentially I'm older than you, or maybe I've had crappier jobs than you. But I remember having to stay late as a dev and be pressing next, and then going to the next cubicle, pressing next, going to the next cubicle, pressing next. And like a bunch of us walking around floors, like pressing next. I'm like, as if you're paying me as a software dev to press the next button and then go sit my bum in the next seat.
Yeah.
My team would have races, like physical races. Like, we'd be like, how many can you do? And we'd like run from floor to floor and just be ridiculous. But like, infrastructure as code eliminates all of that.
Yeah, it's funny because so like, I'm new-ish to technology. I've only been in technology for 5 years, but I'm old. Like, I didn't get into it until my late 30s, and so like, I had a different career first, a couple of different careers first, and then I stayed at home with kids, and then I got into technology. And so, like, I joke that, like, I'm like DevOps native or like cloud native myself, because I never did experience all of that. And so it's funny because whenever I see people, you know how it's pretty common for people that have been in the industry for a really long time to sometimes fall back onto their bad habits, but I never had those bad habits. And so, like, I'm definitely not perfect because I have so much to learn, but I do see those things as bad habits sometimes because I did start sort of cloud native and DevOps native and whatnot. And so it's funny because I can, like, point it out and be like, wait, that's not the way we do things now.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I feel like that's an awesome time to start in technology because, quite frankly, DevOps and cloud are just the most exciting crap. Like, it's just the most exciting stuff that I have seen in a really long time in technology. Like, personally, I'm like, why did we not develop software this way the whole time?
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I love building pipelines and then smashing things with them.
Yeah, it's fun.
Okay, so
I
now
like green check marks too in pipelines. Let's not underestimate the green check mark.
Right? Oh no, I love all of it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, so now that all of our audience is like, I understand what infrastructure as code is, I kind of get an idea. Can you tell us what your job is like?
Yeah, so before I came to HashiCorp, I worked at an Azure consultancy doing all the sort of DevOps and SRE things for different customers. And so I built a lot of skills in cloud architecture, in infrastructure as code, CI/CD, configuration management, all that sort of thing. And then I saw this job. I had been wanting to work at HashiCorp for so long. And I saw this job for a test infrastructure engineer for the Terraform Enterprise team. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is the perfect way to get my foot in the door at HashiCorp, because I can leverage all my own skills that I've been using for the past 4 years. And then, because at the time I had only been working about 4.5 years at it. And then I can bring value immediately on this team of software engineers. And I wasn't a software engineer yet, but I can immediately bring value with all of these skills because they need to be able to test their product on a myriad of different
Oh, yeah.
environments, because there's so many different sort of scenarios that you can set up your environment to accommodate for. And so yeah, like we have to build all these different environments to accommodate for all these different scenarios in order to test Terraform Enterprise onto. And so I don't even remember the question.
Interoperability. That's what
Yeah.
you're doing. You're making
Yeah.
sure it works on every platform with every
Yes.
programming language and all of the different infrastructure. And I was like, I have to type it out to make sure I say it perfectly because it's a weird word.
Yeah.
So the question was like, tell us about your job. And I
Oh,
feel like
yes.
you're doing a really good job of telling us about your job.
Yeah, so now we have this whole roadmap of how to build out all of these pipelines so that we can test it in all these different ways, and bringing quality and all this to Terraform Enterprise. And so yeah, I just kind of plug away each day at building those pipelines, and it's a lot of fun.
I have to say, if I, stop running my own company and stop doing all the startup stuff, that if I became like a dev again, or probably more likely a DevSecOps engineer, that I would definitely only be willing to work at a place that does DevOps. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not willing to water fail with you anymore.
Yeah. No, for sure. HashiCorp is a great place to work at also because, well, coming from a services company to a product company, it's really fun to like see the vision of where you want to take the product and be a part of that, as opposed to like, I was the practitioner before and I loved the product. And now I get to like work on the product that I loved so much. And so that's really exciting.
It's very meta too, right? Like it's idea, like just to be able to go inside the thing that you've liked so much and be able to positively influence it. It's like so awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is a day like in the life of Annie? Or wait, I mean a test infrastructure engineer.
Well, those are, it's funny because like the test infrastructure engineer is only part of Annie. So I basically, once we do okay, so let me start over.
Okay.
I talked about the difference between a services company and the product company. And what I really like is being able to sort of breathe and think about the plan for a little while. At a services company, I grew so quickly and I learned a ton, but you never got to really breathe, unless you're on the bench. And then if you're on the bench, that's a bad thing, right? And so, depending on how long.
Oh, yeah.
Just because you're not being utilized and everything comes down to the utilization hours, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Consulting's intense.
Yes, absolutely. So being at a product company, we get to kind of like think about the outlook of the product, like how are we going to make this better? It's not always putting out fires. Sometimes it is if there's like an incident or whatever, but and they need to pull in people from the team and they, solve it and whatnot. But mostly it's like, how do we make this better long term? And so some of it is planning, some of it is researching, and then a lot of it is implementation. And so like we just got out of a planning phase and now we're just implementing. So day in and day out, we just take a task off of the board. The other thing about the way that HashiCorp works is that we do an RFC process. And so like anytime you make a change that affects anybody outside of your team, basically, or any part of the product or any product outside of your team, then you write up a proposal and you have everybody review it. So the entire company basically can read it, or at least all of engineering can read it, Well, yeah. and it, depending on the scope of your change,
Okay.
And you might just think that you're writing a proposal to make a change to this little part of Terraform Enterprise, but somebody, let's say in Nomad, might have an idea. Oh, hi, Anna. Somebody might have an idea, out of something that they did in Nomad or in Console or something. And they're like, hey, did you think about this? And so it's just really awesome to get that broad company-wide perspective um, input on all of your changes. So it's really cool.
That's actually super cool. I've never heard of a company doing that, but that's a
Yeah.
great idea. I mean, we do that at We Hack Purple, but there's 5 of us. So we are trying to make it be 6 of us, though, just to be clear. Oh, by the way, we're hiring for a salesperson. I forgot to tell everyone. So We Hack Purple is hiring a recent Canadian grad who has studied sales or business to come do sales with us. So if you're interested, please email us at info@wehackpurple.com. Yes, I totally did the thing my marketing team asked me to do. Good job, Tanya.
Good job.
I also want to say hi to everyone in the chat. Hi, everyone. Thank you for
Hi,
coming.
everyone. Thank you.
Yeah. So your day sounds awesome. Is there a lot of meetings? Because this is a question we always get.
I hate meetings so much. Like really, because you have to context switch so much. Thankfully, I do not have a lot of meetings. I do try to. My team is just really cool about being understanding about trying to not have like the Swiss cheese schedule, where you have just a bunch of little holes, but nothing really concrete to be able to focus and do like thought work, So yeah, I every now and then, like Mondays are our heavy meeting day, but for the most part, not really. I really don't like meetings though.
You know what's worse than meetings? Hundreds of emails.
Yeah.
Or meetings that could have been an email.
Yeah.
Hi to Professor Black Ops. Thank you for coming. I feel like a lot of people finding out there's not that very many meetings, and also you get to influence cool things, and also you get to automate stuff. Like there's going to be a lot of people asking if there's positions to do this type of work.
Yeah. I mean, meetings aren't bad. It's just that they hired me to do work. To build things. Yeah, it's to build things. I'm not saying that meetings aren't work, because sometimes other types of positions have to be able to talk to other people to figure things out. Sure. I don't that much. I have to I need hands on keyboard. You know what I mean? So yeah.
I totally do know what you mean. I remember when I was a dev and I was like, I have 1 meeting a week. Why would I need 2? And I just had 1. Generally 1, or once in a while I would talk to clients, but it would usually just be like, they send an email. I'm like, hey, let's just talk on the phone. Okay, I got it. Bye. And I just happily dev away.
Yeah. I will say we have 1 meeting on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday called the water cooler. And since we're a totally remote company, just my team, we meet for 30 minutes Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, just to chat. And that's really nice. I don't mind that meeting at all. That's kind of my favorite meeting.
Yeah, that actually sounds pretty important to have social time.
Yeah.
Well, hi, Rana. It's so awesome. So many people are showing up.
Cool. I know. Hi, Rana.
Okay, so I have more serious questions, of course. So,
of course.
What types of personality traits, or maybe aptitudes or talents, would someone need to be good at what you're doing?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that, because before I got into technology, my husband would always tell me he would try to get me into technology, and I thought he was crazy, because I was an art major. My emphasis was film and video, and I didn't even know what a terminal was. I didn't know what to do on it. When you open it, what do you do? I knew nothing. But he said, you problem solving, you get super laser focused on an issue, and you just go to town, and you don't quit until it's finished. And so I'm like, yeah, but still, I don't know the thing, I don't know how to do it. But he was right. You just need a laser focus on things, I think, which is a pro and a con, I'll admit. But I think you also need really good troubleshooting skills, which I feel like I developed just because I'm able to focus, and because I like fixing my own things. If things are broken around the house or something, I like to fix it, or things like that. And the troubleshooting skills are also good. It's almost like rubber duck programming. if some of your listeners are not familiar with that, it's just you pretend that there's a rubber duck on your desk, and before you ask for help, you tell your entire problem to that rubber duck, and then usually you end up solving it. I don't know how many times I've written out a really verbose Slack message to one of my team members, and I solved my problem like by typing it all out. So that's really important, like being able to bullet out the problem so that you can solve it, and then knowing like where to search for the answers. And then empathy, I feel like that's a generic answer right nowadays, but it's not. Like, it's so important being able to empathize with your teammates, with other teams, with your customers. Making people's lives easier is kind of like what I want to do. And I think that my specific job also requires like a fierce dedication to doing what's right overall, like the right way of doing things, like no shortcuts and no, I don't know, just no shortcuts.
Workarounds.
Yeah, exactly.
The user just has to click this and rub their belly, but also then pat their head at the same time, and then it'll work.
Exactly. No, like you have to do it meticulously correct, you know? So yeah, I think that those are sort of the personality traits that my husband saw in me before I started in tech, and he really was right. Like, those are extremely transferable to a tech career. Yeah.
Are you one of those people where you're like working on a problem, then you go, you're like, I have an idea, and then you do it, and then you fix it, and you're like, this is the best satisfaction?
Oh my gosh, yeah. But the opposite is true too. Like, whenever I can't solve it, then I'm just a grump to everyone. Yeah. And like, it's really hard to like get off at the end of the day. I really have no choice. A lot of people say, whenever they work remotely, like, oh, it's so hard to like step away from your office or whatever. I have 3 kids. And so like, I don't have the luxury of like, staying on my computer until 10 PM. Cause like I have kids to feed and whatnot.
Yeah,
you know,
they'll literally crawl on you.
Right. Yeah. So like I have to step away at a certain time and go like do life or whatever. But I don't remember what I was going to say about that. Oh, yes, but that is the other side of the problem. Like I am super like euphoric when I solve a problem, but I'm super grumpy if I have to step away from it and it's unsolved.
It's
really
hard.
Unsatisfying. Yeah.
Have you ever dreamed in code or dreamed the answer to a problem that you've been struggling over?
No, not really, but I have like thought about it as I've gone to sleep, and like I'll think of a solution and like I'll email it to myself real fast so that I don't forget.
Yes. I love it. It. That's awesome. Okay, I am going to thank our sponsor and make a small announcement. So We Hack Purple is sponsoring the Vancouver International Privacy and Security Summit, which is virtual, from May 7th to May 5th. And I am also a keynote speaker. Yes. So that's awesome. And again, that's the Vancouver International Privacy and Security Summit from Reboot. And we'll try to share a link. And also, I'd like to thank our sponsor, ThreadFix, powered by Denim Group, the most stupendous vulnerability management system this side of the galaxy. And we are currently booking sponsors for September, I think October now. Yeah, because we have so many, and that's wonderful. And we are so grateful to all of our different sponsors, especially ThreadFix. Thank you, thank you. And I want to make another small announcement that we also have the Diversity Scholarship for We Hack Purple, and you should go on to academy.wehackpurple.com to apply for it if you are someone from an underrepresented group. I want to tell you that we have so many sponsors for it that we're giving away 18 in a row, 1 per week, and ThreadFix and 10 Security, and we had a new one today, Bridge Crew, and also Solvo Cloud are all sponsors for us to help people from underrepresented groups join information security and learn how to be an application security engineer. So I just wanted to thank all of our sponsors at the same time because all of that is awesome sauce. But now I want to get back to Annie. Annie, I have more questions.
I'm here.
All your answers just make me want to know so much more. So What types of technical skills do you think someone needs to do a job like yours? Sounds like they need a lot.
Yeah, so I don't want to overwhelm people with the list because it can be overwhelming. But I'll tell you how I learned it, and then that'll kind
Okay.
of build it. So
Yes.
because I didn't know anything, I found this tool called InSpec. My husband found this tool called InSpec. He was using it at his company, and it was new at the time. And I'm not saying learn this tool. I'm just going to tell you the pattern
Yeah.
of how I did
Yeah.
it. But it was a Ruby framework that was supposed to be human readable, human writable, geared toward security and compliance professionals who were not typically developers. And so you could write these controls in human readable language and whatnot, and be able to run them. And so he was like, look, this is a new tool and it's really cool. We want to use it at my company, but there's not a lot of documentation on it. Why don't you learn this, write a bunch of documentation about it, tell people how to use it, and then if it ends up being like super complicated and not really accessible like they claim to, then say that, like whatever. But just try to learn it and see if you do it. And it turned out that like their claims were right. Like it really was pretty easy to learn. And I knew nothing. Like I told you, I had never even opened a terminal before, and I learned this tool. And so this was like me at the beginning of like before I started my tech career, just learning how to do things at home, up until midnight, just kind of plugging away and writing these blog posts about how to use it. So like literally if you Google InSpec, you'll probably find my name because I wrote so many tutorials about it and I like gave them all this free advertising. but it benefited me because I learned, and it gave me a way of also what I like to call inverted learning, where actually I think I got that term from somebody else. But it's really useful. Like I learned InSpec, which looks into your system to see if things exist or not. And I didn't know what those things were at first, but then like I wrote this InSpec profile based on like CIS benchmarks, which say like your system needs to look exactly like this if you want to be compliant to CIS. And so, which is the Center for Internet Security, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I wrote all I don't remember. I just took one of the benchmarks or one, book of the benchmarks, and I wrote all the audits, and then I learned how to remediate all of the failures with Chef. And so that was kind of like I was learning from the outside in, you know what I mean? And like I didn't know what these things were, but I learned it as I went. And then I learned Chef. I learned configuration management by remediating failures, and then from Chef, you have to learn infrastructure generally, you know what I mean? So like I learned how to provision a VM in Azure, and then it just kind of got bigger and bigger, you know what I mean? So audits, Chef, configuration management, then infrastructure as code, and Azure architecture, and so within all of those skills, like if I was just writing a bulleted like resume list or whatever, I'd say like from what that led to in my current position was being able to bullet out CI/CD. Linux is pretty important for my job, not so much Windows, but Windows was for my last job. All the three major clouds, basic architecture skills within those clouds, obviously HashiCorp command line, so HCL, like being able to write Terraform at least, but Packer is a plus. Packer is the tool that you create images with. What else? And then just being able to pick up on some like Go and Ruby. So like InSpec was written in Ruby. And so I was able to, and Chef. And so like anytime you have to do anything custom, like any sort of custom resources and stuff, you have to touch Go and Ruby, or not Go, you have to touch Ruby. And anytime you need to do anything custom with, or if you have to look into the code, then you have to know Go for Terraform and any sort of HCL. So yeah, but like to make it less intimidating, it all builds on itself, So like find something that you can build from, and it comes a lot easier, especially if you're like doing it day in and day out and creating projects, and it just kind of leads to each other.
Yes. Yes, so much yes. We were talking before we started recording about, I was like, is there anything you want to promote? And you're like, no, I like talking at meetups and sharing information. Did you want to talk a little bit about like why?
Yeah. So it's funny because like I'm not a dev advocate. I'm not in marketing. I don't have anything to sell, whatever. I just like I grew up super poor, and I know that like a career in technology changed my trajectory. My husband also. So like my husband grew up poor, I grew up poor. And my husband was the one that started in technology first. And like that started changing our lives, and then I got into technology. So then we had like a double tech income, and we're just like, our lives are a complete 180 from the way that we grew up, and it's accessible to everyone, like it just takes hard work. And there are like so many smart, hardworking people out there that deserve great lives, and this is their way in. And I don't want to put the onus completely on them. They will do the hard work if they want to, and if they're driven enough. But the onus is also on the hiring managers. Like, they are the gatekeepers, and it drives me crazy when they don't take chances on people. But I'll be completely honest, like it really does require risk, like you have to risk your roadmap, basically. Like, can I hire this person and put enough training hours into supporting them to make them as successful as they need to be? And if the answer is no, then like you have to look at your priorities. Like, what kind of a company are you? What kind of a manager are you? What is the work-life balance at your place? Like so many things. But as long as like both groups of people need to hold up their end of the bargain. You got to have the hard work, and you got to have the less gatekeepiness,
Yes, I could not agree more, Annie. There is a lot of gatekeeping in our industry. A lot of you must have 10 years experience in a technology that's only 8 years old. You must have, these certifications that require 5+ years like job experience plus thousands of dollars worth of investment to get an introductory job. It doesn't make sense. I feel a lot of the time when they're doing that, it's because the hiring manager doesn't know what actual questions to ask in order to find a qualified person. I saw a job post. So we post jobs in the We Hack Purple community, and we posted one from Shopify last week. And so I'm a fan of Shopify. It's not like a secret. Like, I'm always telling people that their AppSec team's awesome. I have like a professional crush on them. And like because I used to live in Ottawa, and they used to host my meetup. So I basically got to literally hang out with them once a month. And their job description was, like, do you like figuring out problems? Are you interested in security? Are you cool with like talking to different developers and like helping them fix a problem? Do you like to do CTFs? Do you like puzzles? And they're like, are you willing to work hard and learn what we're going to teach you? And I was like, let's post this immediately. And I want all of our grads to see this.
Awesome.
Like, yes. And, but they have a team full of like kick-ass experts, right? And sometimes like, I left a job once in the Canadian government. The manager said, like, I have literally no idea how to hire for your job. Like, I'm a manager now, but I used to be a DBA. Can you give any sort of advice to hiring managers that like don't have the expertise to hire their own Annie, but they really need their own Annie? Is there any advice you could give for them to be less gatekeepy?
Yeah. So I've only had 2 jobs in tech so far, but I've been on a lot of interviews. Like a lot. And people are scared of me because I'm a risk, and getting my first job in tech, I worked at a company that was an Azure consultancy, and it took one person at first, like sticking his neck out for me and saying, look, she has the passion that we want, you know, like she learned this skill so quickly. She's, you know, you can see her drive and all of this. And those are the skills that like are the most important, you know, like we can teach her the rest. And plus, like my old career, I was a casting director. And then after that, I stayed home for a long time and I did blogging and I did, like I tried to start a home decorating business, and I quickly realized that I suck as a self-employed person. Like I just am not good at it.
It's not for everyone.
I was good at decorating, but I wasn't good at being self-employed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, but like I had, like given all of my past experience, I had this totally different set of skills than everybody else at the company had, you know? I mean, number one, I was like one of 3 women out of 30. So that already sets me apart from the rest of the engineers. Number 2, I was the only mom. Like being a mom is completely underestimated. Like you gain so many skills, but then also all the soft skills that I gained in the other careers. And so he's like, look, this is a person who thinks differently than most everybody else in our company. And she's shown that she's learned this much. So like, I don't think it's that risky, you know, like let's just hire her because we can teach her what she needs, you know? So anyway, that person stuck his neck out for me. And then he like convinced other people to you know, rally around me or whatever. So that was amazing. And then my next job at HashiCorp, they kind of saw the same thing. I interviewed for 4 different teams at HashiCorp before I actually got hired. So like, it wasn't a slam dunk, you know, like 3 other teams like liked me, but we're just
not taking the risk.
Yeah, exactly. They were just like, I just don't think that you have exactly the level that we need right now. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fine. I've heard this before. So, so then they really did need somebody to hit the ground running. But this team, they were like, okay, well, she is able to hit the ground running in these certain areas, but whatever she lacks, like her passion is obvious, you know, like she like loves Terraform so much and she loves doing things the right way. She's like super meticulous and she, you know, whatever, all those soft skill things that you can't train into somebody, you know? And so those are the most important things, I think. Like the technical stuff will come as long as the person shows that they are dedicated to learning as well, and that they have healthy learning habits. So I don't know, you hear these people that are like, you know, you ask them, how do you learn? And they say, oh, you know, I just kind of mess around until I find out. Okay, like that might work for a little bit of something, but how do you like really dig in and learn? Like you need to be reading and doing in-depth tutorials and classes and like teaching other people what you just learned, things like that, that show that they really do mean what they say. So like my advice to the hiring manager is like really kind of suss out, okay, or are they going to be able to learn all this stuff? And, you know, the risk goes down real low once you figure all that stuff out.
Yes. So. I know this is so great. And I totally agree about learning. I used to work in the Canadian government for 13.5 years, and I was an Anglophone when I started, which means I could only speak English. I had never learned any French. And so if you want promotions in the Canadian public service, you have to be able to learn French. After a certain point, you just can't move up. And there were so many Anglophones that I met that would take a French class part-time for like, you know, a few months, and then they would stop. They would never do homework. They wouldn't practice. And then the next year they would take another one. And I was like, why don't you like poop or get off the pot? Like do it or don't. Like give her, as Canadians say, give her, or just like get out of here, don't do it. And so when I decided to learn French, I was like, I took night school and started watching TV in French, started listening to French things, started reading books in French. I actually
conversation groups.
I went to France for 2 weeks. That helped a lot. And then eventually when I applied for a job where they were going to teach you like, they're like, you have to be able to know the French. And they're like, but we'll send you on training to get you so that you can pass the exam. When I explained, like, yeah, for 2 years, I've been working my butt off as hard as I can to make sure, they're just like, oh yeah, of course we're going to pick her. Right?
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
person who's already been like literally just turning them inside out to try to reach this goal. And then, yeah, I actually ended up passing a month early, which for a dyslexic adult's really, well, just passing it all is good. But
Yeah.
passing a month early too, I was like, yeah, awesome. And
Yeah.
now I speak French. And Nancy, my friend who is doing some sound check for us, can definitely attest to how hard I try to speak French. She's probably giggling right now because my English accent is very strong, but I try really hard. And so
That's awesome.
I love your story about like trying to learn and then sharing the knowledge, learning more, sharing the knowledge, and like implementing the knowledge to fully cement it for yourself. This is brilliant. Oh my gosh, Annie, it's so good. I have tough questions now. The cheese question. We discussed the cheese question earlier. I know my audience will not be okay if we don't ask this. So, does being a test infrastructure engineer pay well? Like, can you, when you go to the grocery store, afford the fancy cheese, or are you like, I'm a vegan now because I cannot afford any cheese? Or, I mean, just to be clear, if you are a vegan,
Or vegan
that's okay.
cheese. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, vegan cheese is really expensive, so that's
I
like
know.
top shelf.
No, I will tell you, I grew up, if we didn't have government cheese, then we had like sliced Velveeta. And so we were, or the chunks of Velveeta, but the generic ones, not the Velveeta brand.
I know what you mean.
And now, like, I buy fancy cheese even when we're not having company, and like I don't even look at the price. So
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna buy that $8 block of cheese and not
Yeah.
even think twice.
yeah.
It's a good place to be, though, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. And like I don't say that lightly, like in a douchey way or whatever. Like, but I say it in like I can't believe what this industry has given me and my family. And I want to share it with other people because I don't want to hoard it. There are a lot of people that want to hoard all of the tech wealth for themselves, and I want to spread it because there's a lot of people that deserve it. So, yeah.
There's a comment in the chat, learning French as an adult is hard. Kudos.
It is. Oh my gosh,
you.
I tried learning as well, and we were doing the exact same stuff that me and my husband were doing the exact same stuff that you were doing. And we were going to like French conversation group every week and all this stuff. And then we went to France for a couple of weeks, and that really helped. And then like life got hard and we just quit doing all of that stuff. And we moved, we used to live in Texas and we moved to Boulder. And we actually, my across the street neighbors, they're very good friends of ours, and they're actually French. And like we don't speak French to them because we've gotten so bad. And anytime we try, they just switch it to English immediately. And it's really embarrassing. So anyway, you have inspired me again to get back at it, but it's hard. It really does take dedication because I'm the type of person that if I don't do it right, I just don't want to do it at all. So anyway, that's a problem though.
A suggestion for you is to find a tandem language partner. So this group that I went to, so there's one school for dyslexic adults in Canada, and it's called Alliance Française. No, wait, it's called l'Académie de Formation Linguistique. But the point is they paired me with someone from Africa who had just moved to Canada who didn't know any English.
Oh
And
my
then they
gosh, that's
just
a
gave us
brilliant idea.
a French-English dictionary. And so I would meet with her once a week for around 2 years. We became such good friends. Her English improved, my French, like, over the moon improved. And also, she ended up getting pregnant and having twins while she was tutoring me. And so then I got to learn all about the adjectives and verbs around pregnancy.
That
And
is
also,
so cool.
and her babies are the cutest.
Oh my gosh,
so that was awesome.
I love that.
Yeah, and so not only did I get to have like this great relationship, and because my habit with her is to speak French. Whenever I would run into her in the city, because we live kind of close to each other, I'd be like, "Oh, Melka, ça va, blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah." But if you start a relationship with someone in English, it's very difficult to switch over. So if you can
I
find someone,
know.
it's actually it's much easier. And I bet
I
you could
love
trade
that.
some tech skills for some language skills any day.
Oh my gosh, I love that idea. Thank
Yeah,
you. I'm gonna do it.
you're welcome.
Check back in. Keep me accountable.
Yeah, seriously.
That is awesome.
Okay, so I have the ultimate difficult question, which I already told you in advance. So this trick, I like to tell my guests it's a very difficult question. But what is the absolute best, coolest thing about your job, and then what is like the worst thing that annoys you or frustrates you?
I think the best part of my job is making people's lives easier. Like, so in bringing testing and quality to the product, as you're testing it, like if you're banging your head against these manual processes all day, then like you hate your job, like it really just brings morale down so low. Because I've been there, I know, like I've had these long manual testing nightmares that just really like make me at the end of the day question my choices. And but if they're automated, if you're building this automated pipeline that tests everything and makes it like infuses quality and makes people's lives better, I just love that. There's this one story that like it happened several years ago, but like I still share it because it's like one of my proudest moments was when I was at this client and they didn't have a pull request test. Yeah, well, a test.
Okay.
Like you make a pull request and it has to run through this pipeline of tests and it has to pass before you can merge it into master merge it into the default branch. Ours are main now. Sorry, that was
No, it's all good,
old
and
school.
I get what you mean. It
Yeah.
used to always be called main until GitHub changed it to master, and I'm like, no, it's always been main. It's like the
Well, they
trunk
switched it
of
back
a
to
tree.
main, so yeah, but
I'm glad they did.
It's
Oh yeah, it's hard if that's the way you learned it. I learned it as
Exactly,
main.
yeah.
So when people start
Oh,
calling it
nice.
master, I'm like, no, dude, that's wrong.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
old. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I learned it first that way, but now I'm trying to train my brain again to say main. But anyway, they didn't have that pipeline, and once they did, like they could, like it made everybody's lives so much easier because they could like accept a pull request and approve it like with confidence and not worry that it's going to break everything. And like that was so small, like such a small thing to do, but like it changed their culture, you know what I mean? Their culture around testing and around pull requests and stuff. And so we only built from there, and like it just took off and it was awesome. So that is my favorite part of my job, is making people's lives better, because making their jobs easier because it makes them like their lives better. Like if you are not just like pushing something uphill all day, then it's like pushing a boulder uphill all day and you get tired after a while and you want to just drop. But if it's easier, then, quality of life issues. What makes me not like my job so much? Oh, it's just like sitting at a computer all day. Like that's the worst part of my job. It's not the actual like work. Like sometimes work can be hard and you don't enjoy it or whatever. And if things are hard or whatever, and you're solving a problem, blah, blah, blah. Everybody has those days. But mostly like it's just having to be stationary all day. And that's hard. Like I have a treadmill desk at home, and that helps a little bit, but like, you don't want to stand on that all day. And also you have to like move from place to place. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like to complain also, but
No, I actually find that very challenging as well.
Yeah.
I have a desk that goes up and down, but I am a jerk to myself, and I like sit just in my chair most days.
Yeah.
But I used to have a treadmill desk. I can watch things or like go to a meeting, but I cannot code and walk. It turns
I
out
can
that is
just
just,
walk very slowly. Yeah, it's
yeah.
just really slowly. But the thing I think that is
Mhm.
important is for teams to normalize like people leaving for 30 minutes to go on a jog or
Yeah.
walk their dog or whatever,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, just like let's be a little more flexible so that people can have a normal life. It's not normal to sit in front of a computer all day. So let's like do what we can to like make it more I don't know, physiologically better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Actually, at We Hack Purple, so I've been doing this for a long time where I do walking meetings.
oh,
And
nice.
so
Yeah.
now that things are remote, it's super easy. But I
Yeah.
used to just take my staff and I'd be like, oh, it's just one on one. And I worked in this giant skyscraper. And on the second floor, so on the first floor, there was a mall. And on the second floor, there was supposed to be a mall, but it was totally dead and there's nothing there. It is L'Esplanade Laurier for anyone that's from Ottawa. And so the second floor of L'Esplanade, just this big circle. So we would just walk in a circle for like an hour and chat about whatever the thing was. And
Nice.
then when we are done, just take the elevator back up. And they're like, why do you want to do these walking meetings? I'm like, because I sit on my derriere all day and
Yeah. That's the
moving
only bad thing
is
about
important.
not having meetings. You don't get to do that very often.
Yeah. Another thing that I did is so I funded a Kickstarter for this special type of anti-fatigue mat that makes you fidget. And so
Oh,
because
nice.
I would stand so perfectly still, my partner would come up and be like, "Are you a statue?" And I'm like, "Maybe." And
Or
so
I end
it,
up standing on one foot like an ostrich, and that's not good for you either,
yes, but for
Yeah.
like an hour, right? And so
Flamingo, like a flamingo. Sorry,
exactly,
wrong bird.
yes. So the fatigue mat I got is called a topo or a topo, Topo, and basically there's like a bulb in the middle and there's like a thing at the back, and so there's all these things you can stretch your feet and your calves, and you just end
Nice.
up kind of fidgeting and moving around every few minutes, and I don't even notice I'm doing it, and it's
That's cool.
really cool.
That is really
Yeah.
cool. I don't think
So
people talk
that's,
about it that enough, though. Like the effects on your body that a tech job has. Like
oh yeah.
we need to be
Yeah.
more intentional about that.
You should actually, so I'm going to just put this in the chat because I can't help myself. So there's this woman called Katie Bowman, and she wrote these books specifically of like how to undo the damage that sitting at a desk does to us. And so I follow all of her stuff, and it's like specific stretches that just like undoes certain things that I didn't realize
Nice.
were happening. And life has been significantly better since Katie.
That is really cool. I used to be a runner before I started my tech career, and I tried to keep it going. And then I started having all these issues like injuries and stuff. And some of it was related to some health issues that I had, and some of it was just related to sitting all day. Even though I had a standing desk too, because you're still stationary and whatever, you're not moving
Hmm.
around organically like you do
Hmm.
just as a stay-at-home parent or whatever. And so yeah, I'm trying to get back into running now, and you have to be extremely intentional about it because you have to do so much more strength training and like stretching and yoga and whatnot. And it's not just like I can just get up and go. I have to really be I have to plan out my training, like the off days of running too. So anyway.
Yeah, it's a serious thing, and I think that a lot of people don't realize that that's one of the kind of downsides of tech is like
Yeah.
the being physically still for so long. And I feel like with the pandemic, lots of people who previously weren't sitting that still, now that they're having these Zoom meetings, like I just put Zoom on my phone and I actually have converted my small property into an urban farm. And so I'll go and shovel dirt and like plant seedlings and stuff and just be listening to this meeting if I don't have to
Nice.
participate really. And it's just more I need to like learn the thing.
Yeah.
But it does not work as well if people are like, turn your camera on. I'll just show them my
I
farm.
know. I know.
Every time I do that, people are like, I'm like,
That's
you asked to
awesome.
see. You asked
I
to
love
see.
it. I love it because you're normalizing it. It should be normal for you to do that, Like we have lives. It's great. I love it.
We had this meeting at Microsoft once, and it was a team meeting and I'd forgotten to turn off my camera, and my boss was like, "Are you kidding? Are you doing squats right now, Tanya? I currently feel like the laziest human. You have been doing squats like 6 straight minutes." And I was like, "I took a break at minute 3, just like my and I was like I have like this little weight. I'm like, and they're just like, "You're making me feel so lazy. Turn off your camera while you are awesome." It's like, okay.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it.
Annie, it has been such a pleasure to have you on the show. I am so glad that person recommended you and that you said
thank
yes.
you. Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it. I've had a lot of fun talking to you.
Oh my gosh, me too. This has been awesome. Well, thank you very much. And yeah, I might have to bug you to be on next season, because after talking to lots of people, I would love to hear from everyone. Please tell me your feelings, but we're thinking next season. So the first season is finding your career in information security, but we're thinking next season is teach me something about security.
Oh,
and we're thinking of just having guests on to teach us a thing. So for instance, you could teach us what infrastructure as code is, and then like how to do a thing or something. Do you know what I mean? And
I love it. Yeah.
You have a lot you could show us.
I love it. I'm game.
Awesome. Okay, thank you again, and let's wrap up the We Hack Purple show. Thank you, Annie. Bye. Thank you so much for coming to the We Hack Purple podcast and our amazing guest, Annie Hedgpeth. Ooh, that was so good. I like how we covered lots of different topics and not just being a test infrastructure engineer, which was also super fascinating. And she was so great how she let me just ask her a lot of random questions that were not on the list of questions I sent her. She was so awesome. I also, quite frankly, liked learning a little bit more about Terraform and HashiCorp, because I'm kind of curious about that already. I'm Tanya Janca, and I want to tell you one more thing. So on this Saturday, and that is April 18th, April 17th, we are going to do another Alice and Bob Learn live stream. It is free. You can sign up for a formal invitation and invitations that will continue to come if you go to aliceandboblearn.com, or you can just show up. Just go to youtube.com/shehackspurple at noon Pacific time, Saturday, April 17th. I'm going to have so many awesome guests. I'm having Alyssa Knight. I'm having Nancy Garishe, who's going to talk about like security requirements and how we can do basically better on our web apps and how we can prepare. We're going to have Dominique Raito again, one of my technical editors for the book. I am really, really looking forward to talking about this and being a nerd basically with my friends, and I hope you join us. Thank you again to ThreadFix, our wonderful sponsor. Thank you to our guest. Thank you to my sound tech and all my team at We Hack Purple that make this a reality. I know when you see me, I seem polished and amazing, but I assure you having a team of amazing humans behind me is why I appear that way. I am Tanya Janca. I'm your host, and thank you so much for coming on this journey with We Hack Purple.